All right, all right. I hope everybody can hear me. You're gonna see me in a second. This is Claude Code, ship an internal tool in 60 minutes live build. We are 8 minutes late on our start. This is my bad, um, but good things, good things. As always, good things. Let's see if you can also see me now. You should be able to see me. Let's make sure that yes, here we go. We got full screen. All right, let's get that music completely down. Thank you very much. Hey guys, it's been a while. It's been a while. We have been live. It's been a while that I've done a webinar. Yeah, I'm not good at singing. I've said this a million times. Let's make sure that we have people joining in. We had a bunch of subscribers, um, uh, attendees. So hopefully we can get them. I know we're a tiny bit late again. Thank you for waiting. We are here, guys. Please post. On your LinkedIn's. Make sure that people are joining, even if we were late. We're here live, and people will still slowly come in. But this is an exciting one today, right? It's Claude Code. I love Claude Code. Who loves Claude Code? Raise your hand if you love Claude Code, right? I can't see your hands. I do apologize. This is why actually I prefer to do these on Zoom where I can see people, because I love the energy of others. I think that really helps a ton. But we wanted to make sure that everybody could attend, because when we do it on Zoom, it's very limited. And so we're live on YouTube and LinkedIn today. Yeah. So I'm Tim Cakir, founder of an AI operator, and I'm gonna walk you through Claude Code and the amazing things that we can do with Claude Code. Yeah, and we're gonna build an internal tool, and we have now 50 minutes, which is great. A better challenge. The less time, the better, right? So let's do this. What are we going to build? I actually have a couple of things that I wanted to think about building, and we had discussed a little bit why we should build. But I think one thing that I'd love to build is I want to build. So I want to start building, a whole operating system for my business, right? For AI operator, right? So today I already have something like that actually, and Tansel, hi from Istanbul, thank you, amazing. Anu said Tim is building a real internal tool. Yeah, drop your use case in the chat. Yeah, if you do have a use case better than my use case, I definitely will build it, right? Tansel, if you have a better use case, let us know and we'll build it, right? Anybody else, live, put on the comments, where are you connecting from? That's a really good one. Say hello and tell us where are you connecting from. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen now in a second. Let me go to my demo screen. So this is my demo screen, and then I'm going to share my window. Right, let's see if that works. Yeah, that works. Right, everybody can see my demo screen. Yeah, awesome, cool. Yeah, all right. So now you're seeing a platform or a tool called Warp. Okay, so let's see if I can make this a bit bigger so that we take more space of the screen. Did that work? Yeah, no, it's not really good. It's cutting it. It's a bit weird. All right, so we'll just make sure that it's not as. All right, so I think it's just the formatting. Here we go. So Restream changed quite a little bit. As you can see, you can't even see the bottom. Is anybody playing around with this? Just maximize it. Do something with it. We have some of our team members in the background. Any way of maximizing this, making sure that we see the bottom? Yeah, okay, that's better. Yeah, thank you. That's perfect. All right, awesome. So this is Warp, and yes, we're gonna talk about Claude Code. Yes, we're gonna work in Claude Code, but I use Warp. Warp is a terminal. Oh, Muge from Istanbul. Oh my God, Tansel, Muge, you need to meet together. You're both in Istanbul. We're getting more popular in Turkey. We're more US based, but suddenly we have some great Turkish people joining. So thank you very much. John, yes, this will be recorded for review. Absolutely. But stay live. I said that, so now he's gonna leave. Don't leave, John. You know, where are you connecting from? Stay here. Ask questions. You know, this is a fully dynamic thing as well. Okay. So you ask me questions, I can show you things and so on. It gets even better, right? And there are no stupid questions. If you have a question, there's a very big chance other people has the same question. They're just shy and to ask. Okay. So I'm warming up my hand. This is very important. Okay. So, oh, my screen is complete. Like nobody can see me. Why is my camera gone? There should be my camera on the bottom. No, it was on the bottom before. Can you get back that? Thank you very much. Yeah, leave it like that. Thank you. And then we can remove this link thing, I guess. Yeah, perfect. So yeah, so it's been a while. As you can see, we haven't done live streams. So we're rusty. So also let me warm my hands up. Fans of Tim Cakir, right? Who's my fan? I have no fan. Thank you, Tansel, but no fans, right? You know, it's just people want to get my AI learnings, you know, no fans. So I use Warp. It's a terminal. It's nicer, right? So who used Claude Code before in this room? Let us know. But Claude Code is a bit scary, right? In the beginning, people are like, "Oh my God, it says code in it," and they're scared and like, "I'm not a coder," and so on. But don't be. It's much better than just about coding. It's huge. It's incredible. It can do so much stuff. It's just mind blowing. Okay, and you're gonna see that in a second. So I use Warp to make that a little bit easier because Warp has like these tabs panel, and you can have some like agent management. It's free, by the way. Warp is completely free. It's just a better terminal. A terminal, it's a command line interface. It's how you speak to your computers, right? I think a lot of people here are kind of youngish, so the older people, will remember our first kind of computers, MS DOS. It was a bunch of lines, and it was text, and it was green, it was weird. That's kind of going back to that a little bit because we're getting the most power of AI from this, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna launch Claude, right? So if you have Claude enabled, and today it's not about the basics of Claude. We're gonna build stuff, okay? The basics of Claude Code. I think we might have an article somewhere. I'm sure one of my team members might drop that in here somewhere. Okay, and sadly you have the name, so you can't see that. This is so bad. Is there a way that we can make this a bit smaller so people can see the bottom? I don't know if you could see. If you can make this a little bit better so that people can see it, right? So Claude Code basics, I have cheat sheets. I have it, I think, potentially on my YouTube channel as well, or we'll do it more. So you can learn how to install Claude Code. But if you write Claude, right, it's a really, I'm gonna say it's a really sexy name as well, right? It's like a French Claude, salut Claude, bonjour, right? So you call in Claude, and Claude Code comes in your terminal, right? And my terminal is Warp. And as Kubi Rich said, it is open source, which is great. Okay, so Claude Code is here. Okay, I'm in my AR Beta folder, which is a very big mistake that I just did, as I'm super excited. It's been a while that I haven't been here with you guys. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you a trick, which is also good, right? So I'm going to list what's inside this place. And as you can see, there's a lot of different things, which this is not where we want to be, right? So I am going to get a new tab, and I'm going to make sure that I go into a better folder. And my better folder for this case is going to be CD build, okay? And then, of course, my build folder is not there. So we have to make sure that we fix that as well, okay? So what do I mean by this? Be careful. This is like one of the biggest learnings that you can have today. Is it's very powerful, okay? But you got to make sure that you're not leaving it run wild wherever, okay? So now I did actually a quick build test folder for us, and I've switched where I am working in. And please, this is a very big introduction. You are getting two voices possible. Are you sure? Place has the same thing that Sean said. Can everybody check on that? And some other people, uh, speakers open. Right. So please confirm if that's the case. I'll double click on the back voice. Ask my members to double check that. Okay. So the idea. No. Okay. So in your case, I think you might have YouTube. We're gonna launch, okay, not build test folder. All right. The first mistake that I did is I launched it in a very important folder. Okay. And you gotta be careful or where you launch it because it's so powerful. It can, it can start running wild. Okay. That's like lesson number one. Okay. So now I'm going to build an internal tool. All right. I'm going to start building this whole project management and operating system for my business. Okay. And the first thing that I want to do is I take a lot of calls, right? I take a lot of calls. I do a lot of training sessions, a lot of emails, a lot of things. And I want to start pulling out context. Okay. So I want to pull out context of, success of sales goals, or you know or failures of sales goals. I want to be able to pull up training sessions and what we've delivered in these training sessions and what was good about these training sessions. And I want to start putting all this into an operating system, right, that has context layer for AI. Does that sound cool? I think that sounds really cool. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in here, and as you can see, we have a bunch of skills, right? Skills are very important. Okay. So one of the most important today's development kind of framework is GStack. All right. So if you go to GitHub GStack, maybe Kubi can drop it in the chat here. GStack is by Gary, right? He's Gary Tan. He's the CEO of Y Combinator, right? Which they built the coolest what do you call it, startups, right? So G Stack is really cool because G Stack has a lot of like super cool skills. Okay, so if I call in G Stack, right, it's gonna first check that it's updated. All right. So the GitHub repo, by the way, is very easy. When the day that you figure out Claude Code and you know where to start your Claude Code, the rest is going to be a bit easier. Okay, because you can kind of put the GitHub repo and say, can you figure this out? Let me know what this is, help me, and so on. Okay. So I haven't seen in the chat yet, but hopefully somebody's bringing the GitHub repo of GStack, right? Which is a very cool set of skills. Okay. So by the way, while we're doing this, shall we do something else? Because Claude has some really cool new stuff as well. All right. So Claude has this new thing, which is Claude Agents. All right. I mean, they already had agents, but now they have this kind of different view where you can see a lot of stuff as I just opened this up. Okay. So you can already see that I have a bunch of different sessions ongoing. All right, in here. And I'm curious, can I kill all of these? I should be able to, but let's just kind of work from here. All right, let's just Control X all of this. All right, let's Control X and then delete all of this so that you see we have a brand new place. All right. So what's really cool with this is that you can now just give it some goals, and you can see that it's already transcribing as well, which is really cool. Okay. So you can just talk everything that you need, like your prompts and so on, can be now talked into. All right. So that's spacebar. You can turn it on, and I'm just gonna actually. It's still doing this. Why is it doing this? Here we go. All right. So what I want to build is a context layer for my business. This is going to be the infrastructure, the beginning of an operating system for AI operator, right? So what I want is this operating system is going to start taking, calls, emails, Notion tasks, projects, and a bunch of different things, And what it's going to do, it's going to start taking insights and it's going to build a context layer for it. Okay, so let's understand how can we structure and architect this infrastructure application for my business. Okay, so I put that in there. This is going to be a goal now. Okay, so you'll see that as I launch this, and now I have this goal that is going to start working in. All right, and with this new technology that we just received, could be yesterday or today, 2 days ago, which we can have different agents and we can kind of go inside these agents right away. All right, and this is great because you can see all your sessions. So I could be closing this on the left, and you can see I'm rusty at webinars, aren't I? Yeah. um it's okay, we're back. We're gonna have another session in a couple of weeks. At the end, you'll see I'll get back on the on the great webinar run that I used to do, which I was very confident and comfortable before. As you can see now, it needs input. Okay, so if it needs inputs, I come in here and I just come back to it, and it's already thought a bunch of stuff and is asking me questions. Okay, where should the context state physically live? All right, it's JSON.nmd files. Yes, that's going to be what I want, and then we're going to add a SQLite and vector database. Okay, so that's for sure what we want. Okay, but also, it could be a database on Versal Neon as source or through adapters ingest. All right, let's do that. Okay, just my Claude skills, recommend optimize for Claude Code skills. I'm reading these things, and make sure you're reading. And if you have your Claude Code open, follow along and build something else, right? And then ask the questions in the chat, and we can build together. All right. So okay, yes, I do want to eventually build this as a multi kind of multi login, multi enterprise, so different companies can also use this. All right. So, Claude Code is incredible. Okay, why is it incredible? Because as you saw, it would ask you all the questions, right? So if it doesn't know something, it's gonna stop you and it's gonna be like, all right, well, I need these answers before I move on. All right. If you remember AI a few months ago or last year before November 2025, it would just go build stuff and it would be most of the time wrong, right? But those days are gone, right? Now, it really asks you clarification questions. Okay, cool. So as you can see, we have already a session working, right? So I can do back, get out, come back to my session and understand the things that are happening. All right. So while this is building, because this can take a bit of time, I'd like to talk to you very quickly about, let's do that. Well, let's talk about GStack very quickly while we're here, right? I think Kubi dropped it on the chat. So here we go. Can we show that very quickly? Here we go. GitHub.com Gary Tan GStack, right? So which I haven't even probably used it yet. That's fine. We'll use it in a second. But this should be more a quick tip for all of you, okay? Because you might be like, oh, I'm not very good at all this stuff, and you don't have to be, because as you can see, we can get different people that has already built some really cool stuff to help us. So when you have Claude Code working and you're like, oh, I've never worked with a GitHub repository, you can find a repository that you like Gary's GStack. Okay, you can see he has a bit of a description here as well, right? And he tells you all about the stuff that he built and how it works and so on. But I have a good surprise for you. You don't even have to go through all of this, but make sure you're trusting the GitHub repo first of all, right? What you can do is you can take the link of the GitHub repo and you can drop it in to your Claude Code automatically. Okay. But what's really cool with this GitHub repo is that it does this think, plan, build, review, test, ship, and reflect. And it's a loop so that you can keep building some incredible stuff, right? So in the meantime, as I was speaking, I heard a little blip, right? And the little blip was from my warp, okay, telling me that Claude is now waiting on me. All right, so we're building. Okay. So as you can see, you can read, and please do read all of this stuff. The one thing about Claude Codes that I really love is it will teach you a lot. It will teach you some incredible stuff. It's going to teach you incredible skills, guys. All right. By the way, my marketing person wanted me to wear my T-shirt, but I completely forgot it's here. So imagine I'm wearing this. Okay. Imagine I'm wearing this. All right. Yeah. Okay. Because I'm not gonna get naked now. All right. But imagine I'm wearing AR Operator here. Right. So, if you start working, and please do start working with Claude Code, and you're like, oh, well, I'm not technical, but you're curious and you want to learn, right? And I think one of our best use cases here is Kubi, right? He can tell you on the chat how his life changed since he learned Claude Code, right? And I think that we have a bunch of people like this that happens all the time. So as you can see, if you read it, you start understanding, right? So we have an architecture doc written to here. All right. So because we're working with this what do you call it, terminal, you can see that you can open up files, and most files that you're going to see, right, that are readable are going to be .md file. These are markdown files. So if I click on this file, as you can see, boom, I can read it on the right. All right. So this is the architecture that Claude, Claude Code is proposing to me. Okay. So I come in here and then I go, I'm multi-tenant context infrastructure that ingests blah, blah, blah. And then I read it quickly. I'm not going to do that now because, I want to give you more value, right? But you go, you read these and you start understanding things and you're like, okay, well, I don't understand what is Postgres. Just ask. Tell it to explain. Tell it to explain like to a 5-year-old. Tell it to explain like it's a football game or whatever, right? It's going to help you understand anything that you don't. Trust me, it's just so good at these things, right? And people come to me and they're like, well, I don't know where to start. Is anybody feeling like they don't know where to start? Right? If you feel like you don't know where to start, just open up Claude Code in a safe folder and say, I don't know where to start. Ask me questions. It's going to ask you some incredible questions. And it's going to start getting your brain going, right? And then you're going to answer, you're going to be, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. And then it's going to be like, okay, shall we build this? You'll be like, what? Can I build that? Yes, of course you can, right? A great example, somebody that I love. I told him, I said, yes, you can build that. And he's like, well, I asked Claude Code, and Claude Code said it's going to take 4 weeks. And it said it's going to take 4 weeks and so on. And I said, go back to Claude Code and say you only have 15 minutes. And that person called me back and said, Tim, oh my God, it built incredible things in 15 minutes. So if Claude Code tells you something, it's not good at time, right? At understanding how, because it thinks as a human build, you're going to take 4 weeks. But you say, like, your Claude Codes, you can build this in 15 minutes and it will build it in 15 minutes. Okay. So let's say I read all this thing, which I suggest everybody to read these things, especially in the beginning, because you're going to learn all this stuff and what do they mean and stuff is very important. Okay. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to build the beginning so that we can have something to look at in a second. Okay. So, read the architecture file that it created. You can see it's there. You can find it. Okay. But also, if you read the things that it's telling you here, very quickly you're going to start having a grasp of what's happening. But as you can see, it's already saying phase 0. It's going to take about a week, right? And actually not. It's going to take about 5 minutes. Right? It's not going to take a week. Okay. So it really thinks in human time, and it's going to be like, okay, well, if I human build this, it's going to take a week. But I said, go build. In 5 minutes, 10 minutes, we're going to have something working. Okay. So important to really not believe everything AI says, right? But also, of course, work with AI to do some great things together. Okay, this is very important. All right, because I do get a lot of people come to me. They're like, "Well, AI told me this is impossible." I'm like, "Well, just tell it it's a lie. Say it's possible. I know you can do it. And give it some confidence. Maybe you can say, "Hey, Claude Code, I know you can do this." Right, and then it's gonna do some magic. Seriously. All right. So now this is building a bunch of packages and so on, right? It's going to build some really cool stuff. And then in a minute, we are going to start having some really great outputs. Okay. So while this is building, let me talk a little bit more about, the things that you can kind of do with Claude Code, right? So today we said we're building an internal tool, so we're building something, okay? But if I go back and you know what? Let me show you while we're here something that I built yesterday. Okay, it's gonna start tackling this back again. Um, let me see if it can give me. All right, maybe I'll have to ask it. So last night, actually, I built something really, really cool. All right, and I'll be happy. I love my thinking buddy. Yes, it's your thinking buddy. Absolutely, it's incredible at all this stuff. Right? It's just mind blowingly good. Right? So yesterday, as I was having some fun, right? And I got inspired by someone. If that someone is here, big ups. So I got inspired by someone, and what I did, and Kubi's gonna love this because he doesn't know yet. I built this, right? I built our brand guidelines, which it was a PDF done by a designer, and it was okay, right? And I rebuilt that into a mini microsite. Okay, so I built this, last night in no time, in what 20 minutes or so, and basically it has even how our logo system is working, right? It has all the different ways you should not use it and so on, right? From the PDF that I had, which a designer did, I created a whole a whole guideline website. Okay. And why did I, and you might be like, well, the PDF was great, but I built a whole brand guideline website. Why? Because now I can point any AI to this, right? So as you can see, it has even how we do covers in LinkedIn, YouTube, Open Graph, like our adopt method and the colors, right? I think Kubi's already liking this, and a bunch of other stuff, right? So this is like I reviewed all of this, I gave it some feedback, and I wanted to build this because now this site is a link, right, that I can give to any AI and be like, this is my brand system. It's actually a brand system for AI Operator, right? So while we were building that, I wanted to show you this because let's see if where we're at. It will pull me up if we know. All right, so let me show you where we're at with that. Okay, so you can build whatever you want. You just have to imagine it. And I think that one of the cheesiest things that I keep saying, but it's so true, is the limitation is our imagination. Okay. So you can see that already Claude Code has done some of its tasks, right? It's accomplished some of its tasks, right? So you can see here that it's finished a couple of tasks, right? So it has the roots, it has the configurations, and now it's really building these packages and so on. And as I have that file about my brand guidelines, I could also say, make sure to use our brand guidelines, right? And as you can see, while it's already working, I can give it this note, and I'm not going to break things, by the way, but I might be steering the conversation. So another thing that you can do, you can just control S it, right? So let's say you wrote something and you're like, oh shit, like I'm going to need this in a second. What I've done is I've stashed it, right? So I've stashed that prompt. As you can see, stashed auto restores after submit. Okay, so my prompt is stashed now. All right, so in a second after this next prompt, it's gonna come back and it's gonna show up again. Yeah, does that make sense? Hopefully, right? So in the meantime, while I did that, because I want to show you another little quick hack, is we have this by the way. Okay, so / by the way doesn't mess up the conversation, doesn't steer the conversation, but it can answer things about the conversation and what we're doing. Hopefully that makes sense, right? So here, what I'm going to do is, as I'm building this, I'm just going to say something like, when will we have a front end? And will this be local HTML that I can open up in a second quickly? Right? So I kind of dictated it. I said, by the way, okay. So by the way, doesn't disturb the actual building, right? So let's say you're doing whatever work with Claude Code and you're like, oh shit, I had a question, but I don't want to, I don't want to mess everything out. You could do forward slash, by the way, ask a question. It's going to answer it. Here we go, right? When you'll get a front end, right? So I love it. Again, look at that. Phase 3, week 4. Week 4. It's 6:08 p.m. my time. So it's we have 22 more minutes in this, and I believe we will have a front end before the end of this session. Okay. And if you listen to this, it means it will be in week 4, right? So just be careful about that. This is something that I tell everybody. Like, don't believe the timeline of what AI gives you, right? And you know what? To make it even faster, it says if you want something sooner, we could add a minimal phase 0.5, a single app page that lists recent events, entities, insights with hard-coded auth, your org only, no clerk yet. That's perfect, right? So I'm gonna say this actually. I'm gonna take this in, and I'm gonna be like, all right. Remember we had this as well, so let's stash that again, and then I'm gonna say, can you build a very quick front end so I can demo during my webinar, right? Okay, and then I'm gonna put that note from there, all right? And I still look, I prompted that. My stash prompt is back again, and let's just drop that as well. All right. So we said about the front end, it's still building. This is gray, so it still didn't take this into consideration, right? It's building the apps web. The next JS is a JavaScript. It's the actual app, okay? And while it's doing that, I also said about that front end, but also I said, hey, make sure to use our brand guidelines. It's a file that I have on my foldering system, which is a HTML file, which is a microsite that I was building that I showed you about our brand guidelines. All right. So as you can see, it's kind of finished already a lot of the infrastructure. And if we look back at our, let's just go back here. Let's open up our architecture again, right? And let's see where we're at in our architecture, supposedly, right? So let's see where we are. So tenancy, it's building source originals. I just wanted to see in the timeline where we're at. So the adapter, okay, so it's gonna give you all this. Here we go. Phase 1, MCP internal Claude first. So phase 1 was supposed to take a week, remember? Right? And then phase 2 was supposed to take another week, I believe. And then here we go. So it was about week 5 plus was for productizing it. I don't believe in the next 20 minutes I will be able to get potentially to phase 4, right? But I believe that I definitely can finish at phase 1 easily, or even if I pushed it, I could finish it on a phase 2. Okay, because we already built some of the adapters, I believe, right? So we have some of the routes, the packages, and so on. We have the database and so on, right? So imagine, and actually we were 8 minutes late to start. Then I chat a lot, as you all realize, right? So if we didn't have all that chatting and so on, we could have done a little bit more. Let's say that we build 40 minutes in total until the end of this call. In 40 minutes, we potentially will be finished with 2.5 weeks of work of not that one developer, even a few developers, by the way. Right? Right? So that emoji, right? This is exactly where I think that people are underestimating AI. And then if you work with ChatGPT and then you come back and you're like, yeah, AI is crap, and it's like you never change the model in your ChatGPT, and you never switch the model, you never build a custom GPT or a project or an agent or anything like that, and you believe AI is not good and it can't do things. Well, then yeah, I understand that, but the second that you work with something like Claude Code, right? If you work with something like Claude Code, and you get good at it, you're gonna come back. I promise you, you're gonna come back to me, and you're gonna be like, Tim, mind blown, right? You're gonna be that emoji. You're gonna be that. Next time, marketing. Next time, let's prepare that emoji as a GIF here or something like that. That'd be awesome, right? So when I say, you could just drop it on the screen or something like. I think that'd be very cool. We should definitely do that, right? So please, if you're still, unsure about AI, I don't think you're unsure about AI because you're here on this webinar today, right? But I would really suggest, getting Claude Code. Make sure that you run it on a safe environment. As you saw, I'm running it in a folder called Build Test. It's just a very specific folder. It can't go anywhere else, right? And as you can see, Build Test, it's building all these things, right? Remember in the beginning, we only had a architecture.md file. Now we have a README file about the application itself that we're building. We have a package JSON. JSON is some programming language, right? Very little of JSON here for the packages that it needs, right? And a bunch of stuff. Do you have to understand all of this? Absolutely not, right? That said, with a bit of time, you are going to understand all of this. I promise you, you're going to understand this. Like, if you want to, obviously, right? If you're curious and you're like, you know what, I want to learn all of this stuff, I really suggest starting now, right? You know, um, cool. So, any doubts so far? Drop them in the chat. I mean, any questions so far for your own use cases for where you're at and so on while this is building? Oh, we have 16 more minutes, so hopefully I can get some front end to show you that we built. So is there a Claude.md file for this project? I can't see. Well, not yet. I think there is no. Let's check if we have. No, right? Because if it was, it would be on the level here. But it does have a README file. Okay. So Tencel, it's a great question what you asked, by the way. Can we show that? Don't hide it. Yeah. There is no Claude.md file yet for it. And it would be very important to create a Claude.md file, especially if I'm going to, give to someone else, or, I'm going to come back to this and I want Claude to read that file first, right? So the Claude.md file, it's very important because Claude reads that first. Okay. And to be honest, not much else, because my Claude Code, if I come back to this project and it just reads the README file, right? Let's go back to that README file, right? If it reads the README file, it's going to already understand where we're at, what we're doing, and so on. Okay. And then here is going to understand, okay, well, let me, check the architecture and so on, see architecture for the full design, you see? But because this is like a proper like coding kind of session, right? But if I was gonna give this now to Kubi on GitHub, there's a very big chance, yes, I will tell it, can you create a Claude.md file, right? Because then if Kubi opens up on his end, the second he opens up, his Claude is gonna read the Claude file first, and then he's gonna have that, right? And yeah, Kubi give you the biggest tip right away, right? So in a minute when we're done, you can always run init and it will initialize a new Claude.md file with code-based documentation, right? So let's say that I didn't even do a Claude.md file, and then I put this in a GitHub repo, and then I gave it to Kubi, and Kubi was like, oh shit, okay, well, let me not even look at this yet. He runs it, he does /init, Claude is gonna go through the whole thing and is gonna create a Claude.md file, right? So yeah, so I think that Claude.md files for me are even more important when I'm doing non-programming work. And you're gonna be like, what? Right. So when I'm doing non-programming work and I'm doing different things in folders like marketing, sales, I do all my lead research and sales and agreements and proposals and client work. I do it all on Claude Code. So in different folders, I have different Claude.md files. Because let's say that I'm working on some LinkedIn kind of content. I have a folder called LinkedIn, right? Actually, while this is building, maybe we can tap into that. Let's see if we can tap into that without disturbing too much, right? Let's try if I can do that, right? So I'm going to do CD AR operator, as you can see, and I'm going to do CD marketing, and I'm going to do CD LinkedIn, right? So now, right, and let me see what we have here, right? You see, I listed what's inside my LinkedIn folder. In my LinkedIn folder, I have a Claude.md file, right? Why do I have a Claude.md file? Because if I run Claude Code in here, I want Claude Code to know everything about LinkedIn, to know that it's doing LinkedIn stuff and so on, right? Okay. So very important to understand that, because now if I run Claude, boom, in its context is already had the Claude.md file, all right? And if I open, let me see if I can open this file, right? So if I open this file, and I know it's getting a bit messy here, but you can see, it has some writing guidelines, where it's going to find the writing guidelines. The philosophy, LinkedIn is where Tim shares authentic insights about working with AI. Notion is the source of truth, you see? So it puts things on Notion. Our content calendar is on Notion. So I also have some of the variables, right? So very important things for Claude to know while we're working in LinkedIn folder are all these things. Because if it knows all of this stuff, the second that I say, hey, I put a new LinkedIn idea, post idea into our content calendar, it's like, oh, well, in my Claude.md file, I knew where our content calendar is. It's on Notion. This is the ID of the database. This is how I put it. These are the properties that I need to put, and boom, it's going to put that there, right? Okay, so important Claude.md file. Okay, all right. So let's see where we're at. We got what's actually built. Ooh, okay. Well, phase 0 plus 0.5. All right. So we could push this a little bit more, but let's see if we can get a front end working. Do we have a front end working already? I think so. So I'm gonna open this front end. All right. Let me see if I can change my screen share quickly for you guys so you can see this front end already, which is really cool. All right. And here we go. We got a Context OS front end. It's a very quick front end, right? So the context layer for your business, ingest emails, calls, meetings, tasks, projects, right? So we're gonna have ingest, resolve, extract, see the demo, boom. All right, it's created a demo, which is great, right? As you can see, I really like it already, right? Because all right, so it's taken, let's say, when it's fully built, right? Wednesday, 8 p.m., granola, week 6 cohort session. Boom, it already knows what I do, right? So it took it that. DM with Maria at Northwind from Slack. Gmail, proposal, Gmail, blah, 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 right? So it's taken all of that, okay? And it's already kind of created a timeline example and the insights that it would be taking, right? Fresh insights. Facts, Northwind Court's top unmet need is finance cost tracking automation. Ooh, that's awesome, right? So from 7 events, 6 entities, 6 insights, okay? And here are the entities and so on. And I think, oh, great, you can even go inside the entities, right? Helena Park is an entity. It was 2 Gmails and some insights from Helena, right? So this is awesome. Why is this awesome? Imagine now, right? And this is where I think we need to understand what's happening. It's done an API health. Okay, yeah, well, it's not fully functioning. It's just a quick front end, right? It's seed data only. It says it here, right? Seed data only. Live ingest lands at phase 1, so we could kind of push it in the back end to land that. And I have the MCPs for all this model context protocols for Granola, which I take my meeting notes, for Gmail, for Slack, for Notion, for Mercury, which is my company bank account and stuff, my company bank, right? So I have MCPs for all of this already, right? So it's going to be very easy for this platform to start pulling in information from these. So the goal with this Context OS is everything that I do every day, every week, should start becoming some context for my business, right? Because how many times do we respond to the same emails? How many times do we tackle the agreements in very similar ways and so on, right? So if you read my newsletter, by the way, I think, can we drop a QR of the newsletter on the screen? I think this is important. If you read my newsletter, last couple weeks, I've been talking a lot about context, right? So I think there's a QR code there. please do scan it. And it's a free newsletter, is every Wednesday in your inbox. So I've been talking a lot about context, and today I started to build the infrastructure for this, which is great because right now our context is actually our Notion, but this is really a build that I'm going to do, which I'm going to continue, and we started it together. So I'm very excited because what I want to do is I want to make sure that we're ingesting everything that we're doing, right? And then we, people come, deals, session projects, ideas unify everywhere. A contact appears. This is awesome. So ingest, put them all together, and then extract decisions, next actions, risks, commitments, every insight cites the events it came from, right? So, which is awesome, right? So if you read the newsletter, you'll see that I'm talking a lot about every business should be building their context right now, right? Because you have already lots of context. You have lots of emails. You've done a lot of calls. You've done a lot of agreements. You've done a lot of sales stuff. You've done all this stuff, right? But you haven't stored context, right? And AI gets super powerful when it has context. Yeah, does that make sense? Right. So build your context library right now. I think today's if you can get a lesson from just today, I think it should be like to start thinking about where is your context, what is your context, and I'm not talking about just company context. It could be personal context as well, right? Because as AI gets better, in no time, right, you are going to want to have this infrastructure, this database of context, right? Because the second you point any large language models and any AI tools, Perplexity, ChatGPT, Grok, Claude, whatever you want, right? Gemini, the second you pinpoint it to context, it knows. It knows everything. It has the context. It knows how you sell. It knows how you work. It knows how you deliver client work, right? So that's why I suggest right away doing that, right? Okay. So I hope that's a big lesson from today, is like thinking about context, right? So as you can see, what's actually built, which it actually built much more than expected, right? We have the architecture, the monorepo, right? So the workspaces, the drizzle schema, the MCP service, which is great for the search, entity, timeline, insights, and ingest. We had the demo dashboard that we just looked at just very quickly, right? Some okay, real logo, yeah, it did our branding and so on, right? And that's it, right? So next steps when you're back from the webinar, phase one, right? Okay. So I can say just continue, right? Because I have the right files now, I have the architecture, the README. I don't have a Claude.md file yet. So let's do that just to make sure Tansel is also happy while we're here, right? So what we'll do here, we'll do, this, init /init. And what Claude is going to do now is going to look at all of this stuff and what we've done, and it's going to create a Claude.md file, right? Which is good. I think it's a great practice to have a Claude.md file. I'm not going to say the opposite, but there's a lot of projects and a lot of folders that don't have a Claude.md file. And does it slow me down? I don't think so. But there are, as you saw earlier, there are places that Claude.md file is very important for me, right? Because I want Claude Code especially to act as something very different than its own kind of harness, which is, and its own instructions, which is mostly coding and programming, right? But if I have a Claude.md file in a folder called LinkedIn, and I say, this is LinkedIn, this is how it works, blah, 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 and, and here's my Notion, here's my calendar, here's my tone of voice, and so on. The second I start Claude Code there, it says, all right, I read the Claude.md file. This is what I'm doing, and this is how I act. This is how I behave now, and these are the tools and the things that I have in my fingertips. Right? Does that make sense? Hopefully, right? So as you can see, boom, we got a Claude.md file, right? And here we go. Let's look at our Claude.md file. Let's open it up a little bit. Boom. What did we get? We got the common commands, the architecture, the brand asset. workspace conventions, what's not built yet, and so on, right? So by the way, all this information is already on the architecture, is on the README, so it's already on there, right? It's just Claude.md file makes it super obvious for Claude to be like, okay, well, I'm pulling this right away, you know. That's really what you're getting from a Claude.md file. Yeah, it's like it's set of instructions. Wow. Okay. Well, yeah, we built a very quick demo. And I think I built the infrastructure of something very powerful. I will continue building this because this has been in my head for quite a while, and you can see that that's going to be really good. Oh, great question. Actually, let's take some questions. Can we just take some questions and remove the screen share? Let's take the question here. I think that's a great question. Where does context best live? Claude.md. What happens if you use a non-Claude model? Haha, Rob, awesome question. Right. So Claude is genius because they did Claude.md, right? But agents.md is the more accepted um, MD file from ChatGPT, Gemini, and so on, right? So they kind of more standardized it, agents.md, right? So if you're using another non-Claude model, you can always tell it, read the Claude.md file and create an agents.md file. You could have both. You could have a Claude.md file and an agents.md file. You could also have instructions in your Claude code to replace Claude.md file with agents.md files and always read the agents.md file and act like it's a Claude.md file. You can do that, right? But the bigger question about this context thing, Rob, I wouldn't say your whole context should live in the Claude.md file or the agents.md file. There are so many Claude.md files where it's just a mapping. It just says, okay, where can you find other things? Right? So my Claude.md file will tell you, all right, brand assets are here. It's going to tell you, things are there. Architecture is here. Things are in Notion. Here's the URL. Here's the database ID, and so on. Right? So it's not really the whole context, but it's more like a map. Right? So I use Claude.md files like a map most of the time. Hopefully, that's a good answer, Rob. Yeah, awesome. Well, if no other question, I know we could have done more. But I'm excited because I know that the ones on this call, if you haven't built yet with Claude Code, you don't have to be scared of Claude Code anymore. It's just lots of text. It looks a bit scarier than your Claude app or whatever. But if you use something like Warp, you saw it makes it a little bit more readable, um, and facilitates things, right? And again, I talk about all of this stuff every week in my newsletter, on my LinkedIn, typically on my YouTube as well. But my YouTube has been a bit quiet for a while, right? Which I want to start back again, being more consistent about it. But we do have another session coming very soon, and I won't be as rusty. Right, I won't be as rusty. So thank you very much. Let's put the next event on the screen. Let me put it here. So next event, we're gonna have Claude Code. Can we remove that QR? Why is there that QR code? Here we go. Thank you. So next event is gonna be on Wednesday, the 3rd of June, at the same time, right? I think that the event is gonna be created just after this or tomorrow on our LinkedIn, right? The best way to follow is LinkedIn, our YouTube channel, or my newsletter, or just aroperator.com. Right, so we do have all of this stuff on aroperator.com as well. You'll have some pop-ups and so on our next events, and sign up. If you want to see any of our old sessions as well, they're also on our live sessions section on aroperator.com. And don't go to .io or other competitors that are trying to act like us, right? aroperator.com is the official AR Operator. Awesome. Well, thank you very much, everybody. I hope you got a ton of value out of this. If you haven't, message me. I'll give you more value. Thanks again. See you in the next one.